Eira, as I said 15 minutes ago, I've known about you for 6 years, but we've never met. And so it's a pleasure to meet you on X, and hear from you, not face to face, but phone to phone. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in the mining industry, and what brought you here to the chairman role of Westhaven?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. I have a long kind of career history in the mining business, starting out as a geologist back in the early 1990s and beginning my career actually originally in gold and then migrating to diamonds, really having been fortunate to have been involved in one of the greatest kind of staking rushes and exploration plays in the world, and that was the discovery and development of Canada's diamond industry in the Northwest Territories. So I spent 16 years doing that. Started my own first publicly traded company in 2000, again diamond focused. Started a couple more diamond companies from then. Uh, both companies ultimately developed exploration projects and into working diamond mines. And then I had an opportunity to also come back to the gold space. So was very fortunate to get involved with a company called Kaminak, where we took an early resource at the Coffee Gold Project and advanced that through bankable feasibility study and ultimately that company was acquired by Goldcorp for about 550 million. I've also had some time in the energy space. I spent about 17 years with Suncor Energy as an independent director and just retired from that board this past September. So been in the industry a long time, kind of grew up in the industry. Gareth and I, come from a mining family. Our father is a mining engineer who emigrated to Canada in the 60s and got his start with Falconbridge and Sudbury and quickly kind of migrated to Northern Canada where he spent most of his career. So we kind of really grew up in that environment. And, we often joke about, dinner conversation really focusing on rocks and stocks. And, it's an infectious industry. And I studied geology and decided to put it to work in the exploration business.
Great. And you've spent a lot of time in the diamond industry, although, as you did point out, Kaminak was definitely a gold company with the Coffee Gold project that was later sold to Goldcorp and now is held by Newmont. What are the skills that you bring to Westhaven as chairman?
I think it's more about experience and skills. Yes, I have some technical skills, and that is helpful with a company that's in early stage exploration. But I think it's more about the career experience I've had taking projects from early stage grassroots right through feasibility into pre-development and development. And so I think that perspective is really helpful. I think Westhaven has got a tremendous world-class opportunity sitting in front of it. It has a really advantageous position with a belt-wide land position that has the potential for a big home run. So, what I bring, I think, is that experience over a long time of taking projects through that cycle and hopefully, lending some sort of strategic vision and support as they, work to go from initial PEA on the South Zone and Shovelnose to outlining what I believe will ultimately be regarded as an important Canadian world-class gold asset.
Gareth, you guys announced on March 20th that you commenced the drill program at Shovelnose. It looks like 4,000 meters is planned, and you outline a number of drill targets. Can you tell us about this drill program, and what are some of the high priority targets that you want to drill in 2024?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Robert, and thanks to your listeners for tuning in. Yeah, I was saying last year, 2023 was a bit of a different year for Westhaven in that I'd say we took the foot off the gas a little bit on the drill program, and in my mind, though it may not exactly show on our share price, it was the most successful exploration year we've had to date, and we were able to in years past, the previous 3 years, I think we'd averaged about 40,000 meters in drilling, and last year, 2023, we just running the one rig, we still managed to get just shy of 20,000 meters, but it allowed our staff, our geos, and to put that cash really into the ground. And we had a very good year in outlining more sort of outside targets, not necessarily right off of this vein zone 1 where we have the South Zone, the Tower, the FMN, the Franz. But it allowed our geos to get out there and explore this as a property. You know, it's 17,000 acre or hectare property. So we unearthed lots of interesting targets, and we're starting back here at MIK. We're just currently starting. I think we're on our second hole now at MIK, which is kind of south of the FMN, but off trend, if you will, from that vein zone 1. And last year it was the first time in quite a while we had hit multi-meter quartz veins, and that was very intriguing, albeit we didn't hit the grade we were quite hoping for. But if people, some of the listeners and or shareholders go back to early 2018, we drilled a hole SN 1809, was the first time we'd seen multi-meter quartz veins there, and didn't have the grade, but fast forward a few holes from there, we made our major discovery there with the 17 meters at 24.5 grams. So I think it's this particular area, it's more FMN Southeast is what we're calling it, but it's in between MIK and FMN. So we're back there following up on this quartz vein hit we had at the end of last year. And the plan will be to go down to MIK, where last year we drilled 3.68 meters of 17 grams per ton gold, and that remains completely open to the south. So we're going to be carrying on down to the MIK, and then off to the west, about 1.5 kilometers, you have line 6, which I think is really all our. I think it's a consensus, our number one target for at least to begin this year with this 4,000 meter drill program to start the year. And that came about. Line 6 and MIK were the original discoveries on the Shovelnose, dating back to the Strongbow days when Strongbow had the company back in 2006. These are big gold geochemical anomalies, and we're back to our geologists last year. They discovered an outcrop that had never been discovered before on line 6, which ran up to 1 gram, 200 grams silver. And we also had a PhD structural geologist working with us over the past couple of months, helping us delineate targets as well. This was their number one target. So line 6, just to give a bit of a bit more information about that, we feel what we have in this vein zone 1 that runs 4 kilometers from South Zone up the Franz, we think this could be another vein zone running parallel just down to the southwest or west, if you will. And we have many reasons why we believe that. So we're going to be testing that line 6 here shortly as well. And then we also have some targets down and around the South Zone, more offset to the southwest and off to the southeast. So lots of targets in and around this vein zone 1. And then we also have a target running parallel, about another 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers to the northeast, and that's hydrothermal breccia 2, where we had some success the last couple of years drill testing, where we think we're definitely a vein zone there. But the work we've done in the past year, I think we've certainly delineated more targets where we feel we can have some success up there. But the goal here for the company is to find, more south zones, find more gold, and add to this, 1 million ounce inventory here, and find some more high grade gold.
Yeah, this is very exciting. The targets that really stand out to me are line 6, the hydrothermal target, and then Othello. Can you tell what is the difference between line 6 and the Othello target? Because it seems to me both of those could be like the fault. It's like there's a fault at the southern end of the south zone, right? It faulted there, and you
Yep.
lost vein zone 1. So which one is the extension or the potential extension? Is it line 6 or is it Othello?
We think line 6 is line 6 would be a completely separate vein zone to vein zone 1, but that's a good question. Then Othello, we think it's more of an offset, like we see up at Franz. Just for example, there, Franz was an outcrop discovered in late 2020, had never been discovered in the previous 14 years. An outcrop sitting there on surface. We obviously have had some success with that, but that's offset from the vein zone 1 by close to 200 meters. And I think with the work we've done in the past couple of years here, and this work we've done with Steve, this consultant, it's a pretty obvious target that there's something happening offset down to the south zone where you mentioned that big fault. And I think we're seeing evidence. Well, we certainly see evidence of you're getting a large mercury anomaly on surface, which is very indicative that we're on to you're seeing the higher levels of these epithermal systems. So that's a target. And there's other evidence in some past holes we've seen there as well. We've hit really high silver. So we think that could be a potential offset of vein zone 1, whereas line 6, we think could be a whole nother sort of another vein zone 1. And the reason we think that in line 6 is that it's a very similar, as mentioned there earlier, these are two big geochemical anomalies sitting on surface. And I'm talking, they stick out like a sore thumb. And that's hence they were the first targets we ever drilled, even back in 2011. These were the first targets, Westhaven, first drill targets ever. We were the first ones to drill this property. And we've hit veinlets up there in the past. We trenched 20 meters of a gram. We've drilled up to 2.5 grams in line 6. But then we started seeing more success off of by Tower and down to Alpine, so we're kind of back to where we started, if you will. But we believe you're seeing these thin veinlets with disseminated mineralization, and we think this is capping a rhyolite. So we believe if we test this deeper, like we have at the south zone and on this vein zone 1, there's a good chance we may hit this vein, what we perceive as another vein zone there. So it's an exciting target, and we will be testing it in this program, and but we will. I think we'll be onto this for some time. This line 6, which could open up a whole new ball game in terms of, as we got 4 kilometers, we've obviously traced the last 3-4 years. We're hoping line 6, and then back to hydrothermal breccia 2, another parallel running vein zone to the north east is also a prominent target there as well. So certainly targets, and then down to the southeast of the property, 5 to 10 kilometers, we also have a lot of smoke from the work we've done this past year as well. So as Eira was saying there, we certainly this is just the Shovelnose 17,000 hectare property with a lot of smoke, not to mention the 3 other properties we have on this belt. So it's trying to use our money wisely and where we have our best bang for a buck. And obviously it's a very tight market right now, and we're trying to use this money wisely and where we can find more gold.
Mm-hmm. So line 6 is fairly new to me, and I don't see it in your maps exactly where it's located. Is it to the southwest of the south zone?
No, line 6 is almost as a crow flies, you're almost 2 kilometers, almost due west from the more from the Alpine, but it's a little bit northwest from our PEA, if you will, by about 2 kilometers. So it's about a kilometer and a half from MIK or sort of that tower as well. So it's due west from there. And the closest we have drilled there in the past, but it's been like I said, our first 3 holes in 2011 were on line 6, albeit they were shallow. We were testing things we'd seen on surface. Then some of the other targets were more geophysical targets, chargeability targets. So now we have what we think is a pretty good idea, and also that we found this outcrop on surface, this 80-meter long running, and this was just found just before the snow came, really in late November. So it's though we were wanting to drill there, this certainly helps, aids in that targeting. So yeah, it's due west though, Robert, from really Tower Alpine by about 2 kilometers.
Okay, got it. So
Yeah,
this would be an entirely new discovery. And you
yes.
said that when you started back in the Strongbow days, this was drilled. There was a hole or two that was put in this area?
Well, this was never, the whole property was never drilled when we acquired it. So this was our first. We drilled 7 holes in 2011, totaling 698 meters, and 3 of those holes were at line 6. So we hit one of those, just off of the top of my head, one of those intercepts was 25 meters of 0.35 grams per ton gold. Within there, you were getting up to 0.6 of 2 grams. So it's something that there's something certainly happening there. And I can certainly, we can direct, if anyone happens to be on their computer, it's on our last news release. There is a map where you can see line 6, and we have in our presentation as well, there is an image that shows the what we think's happening there in terms of these veins, more these disseminated veins on surface that we think we intersected, but these are coming from a feeder somewhere. So now our goal is to drill these more, going for something bigger at depth versus something that's more superficial or closer to. So we like to test these sort of deeper. When I say deeper, I'm talking similar to what we've drilled at South Zone. I'm not talking 600-700 meters. We're still we think there could be another vein zone 1, off to the west at line 6. So there's good indication on surface, and a lot of things sort of going for this target. So yeah, we're excited to get there in due time.
Okay, yeah. So that is correct. In the latest news, March 20th, if you scroll down to the bottom, there is a map, and you can see line 6 is a couple thousand meters west of Tower. So you have these big step out targets in the Othello, the line 6, the hydrothermal. They're all pretty big step outs from the core of the drilling, which has been South Zone, Tower, and the FMN Zone. So how do you prioritize? Which one do you drill first?
Yeah, so we're on this. We're always debating amongst ourselves here what we name these things, and we for some reason have stuck with this Shakespearean theme that these old railways around the area were named after these. But this is actually the FMN, the Forget Me Not, where we had our best intercept to date. It's kind of southeast of there, if you will. And then kind of in between MIK as well. So it's kind of an unnamed, but this is the area where we had that lots of quartz there last year, albeit not much for grade. So we're back there as we speak. That's where the drill ended up last year. So we're testing 2 high priority targets there that Peter Fischel, a lot of your listeners will know, and Emily, our geologist, who's done a great job modeling these vein systems. They have 2 high priority targets there. Then we're heading down to MIK to test this. It's open to the southeast, and that's where we drilled the 3.68 meters of 17 grams. And then we're off to line 6. And then we're going to come back down to around the south zone where that Othello target, which we were just talking about. And there's also another target that we've delineated where we think there's a pretty big gap in the south zone where we haven't tested off to the west quite properly. So we got a few targets in there, but we're sticking to this plan of these targets. We drill the targets we have laid out. They go in for assaying. Assaying's where, well, we think the labs are pretty slow at the moment, so it shouldn't be too long. Then if we have that success, we can always come back. So we're with the one rig, we got it's good for getting around up there, and we also want to test the hydrothermal breccia too, which a lot of our team like as well. So that would be the priority. MIK Southeast now off to line 6 back to Othello. Then be looking to get up the hydrothermal breccia too. And then, of course, we have targets. We could talk for a long time about other targets that are a little bit, a little more grassroots. I shouldn't say these are all pretty grassroots, but a little less work done on those. But yeah, we certainly have a plethora of targets, and I think it's as I said, it's just where do you dispense your this money that's getting more challenging to come by these days.
Right.
So we obviously want our best bang for our buck here.
Yeah, like if you look at slide 6 in the corporate presentation, you can see the area of focus for Westhaven right now is a little orange box. It's like a postage stamp in this larger property outline. I mean, the property is large enough that it would take you decades to explore the whole thing properly, especially a company with a 30 million market cap. So you really do need to prioritize, and it's a target rich environment. So it's not easy, especially when money is a bit harder to come by the last couple of years. I had a question from one of your shareholders about Franz and the discovery of that high grade outcrop to the northwest of Franz. And he's just basically wondering what that means, and then what are the follow up plans there.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's something we obviously talk about a lot internally, and what to we think we certainly are going to be adding ounces at Franz, but to be frank, the success we've had there's actually a target there. As we drilled to the northwest there, we didn't have a ton of success there last year, but from the work we've done just in the past couple months in the off season, if you will, and engaging some other consultants and all kind of going back to the modeling. We also believe that there's, we have targets there at Franz, kind of more offset, more to the south as well, or southwest of Franz. So we certainly see some indicators that maybe Franz is something's going on, but it's a little more offset again. I mean, a lot of the times you get these en echelon steps in these epithermal systems, and obviously we see that at Franz. And once again, I'm looking at the same slide you're looking at, Robert. If not everyone's, I don't know what everyone can see. I'm obviously, but Franz is obviously an offset of the vein zone 1. I think we're certainly paying a lot of attention to that, and hence why down in Othello we're also looking at that as well. This offset, these things aren't always in a straight line. You get tons of faulting, and as a challenge it can be with these faults and dikes. It's also can really help you narrow down where you're looking. So like I said, last year was a very important year for us in terms of really getting not just boots on ground, but taking all this data. We have a world-class data set here, and even filling in the gaps in a lot of this property where you looked at that yellow box that you pointed out there. That's where 95% of our money's gone to since 2011, but there's a lot more ground on this property. But to go back to Franz, to answer your question there, it's something very unique that you have this outcrop high grade gold sitting on surface, and we have tossed around the idea of what's best to do with that. And we did 120 percussion drill holes there last year, just about a foot down into the outcrop, and it gave us a really good idea what's on surface. And we are in preparations to at least go down the road for permitting something in terms, not to say we're going to become miners here, but it's something we are looking at to look at in a taking a closer look at what that could be, as it's pretty low hanging fruit, and we certainly think it could add to a mining scenario down the road. But our priority remains here to find more south zones, more gold. But that certainly is we're thinking about it lots and what best to do there. But I think for this at this point we're very much drill bit story, focusing on finding more gold.
All right, then I want to open up the floor to any questions from the audience. We got about 10 more minutes left. And then I guess a question for Eira. You're not new to the company. I mean, I think you've been a shareholder for a long time, if I'm not mistaken, but you're new to being on the executive management team of the company. What are obviously the simplest thing to get attention of the company would be to drill a great hole, an amazing hole like hole 14 and 15 from 2018. That's self-evident. What else can you do to help re-energize the Westhaven story and get more investors to pay attention to the assets that you have, the potential of the Spence's Bridge Gold Belt, and the potential for making new discoveries at Shovelnose?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I think every junior gold company out there is asking themselves the same question today. But I think what Westhaven has done, and the reason I've been such a committed long-term shareholder, is that they have been very disciplined, they have been very focused, they have not just tried to run around the project area to drill a spectacular hole. Although I absolutely agree that that is probably what it's going to take to get the overall market sentiment to change. But I think what most excites me about this year's program is that there is the potential for that. We are testing targets that have been recently developed through boots on the ground work, and by bringing in, experts and in structural analysis. The targets that we've developed for this year are super exciting. People think about this project as being kind of mature, and now that we've done a PEA, we've kind of outlined the limits. That's not at all the message. And I think with the message that we have to get out there, well, not just the message, it's not the reality. The reality is we've outlined a core kind of economic opportunity at the South Zone. We've now demonstrated that it is viable. And I think that was a really important, smart move to demonstrate to the market that these are mineable ounces. But we're by no means done. I would say that we're still scratching the surface. You yourself said, we're still kind of focused in one relatively small portion of the property. But even within the project area, the potential for finding another South Zone is absolutely real. So that's what I like most about this program. I think it does both. It continues to try and build on the South Zone and the work that we've done in the main Zone 1 4-kilometer trend, but it also steps out to test important ideas that could be game changers. So you kind of get both in 2024.
It would be awesome to see a game changer. I'm going to ask you one more question just because we got a few minutes, and I had intended to ask this earlier, but I just recalled it now. How is it working with your brother or your sister? Is this a strange thing, or is this completely natural for you guys?
Maybe I should jump in before Gareth gets a chance. um, No,
Yeah.
listen, this isn't the first time we've worked together. You know, we had an opportunity to work together in the field in Stornoway when I was first getting that company going. So I think we work really well together. You know, I'm certainly not trying to step in on Gareth's job. I'm here, you know, much more strategically and to advise. I think he's done a really good job putting together a really qualified group of smart geologists and support you know, around him. You know, there is a seasoned group of professionals that have been doing this a very long time, whether it's you know, from camp logistics to make sure that you know, everything is being done as efficiently as possible, to you know, the technical advisors we've talked about, the geologists, and then the support team kind of on the marketing and communications. And I think, you know, we'll continue to build on that. This disconnect between, you know, $2,100 gold and the valuation of these junior explorers can't last forever. And I think when we come out of this, it's those companies that have done a good job positioning themselves that are going to, you know, see that rebound effect more pronounced than the others. Anyway, I'm deflecting from the conversation. Gareth, you can say what it's like to work with your big sister.
Oh, I mean, it's we certainly had an excellent opportunity to get someone of Eira's caliber, and it was a no-brainer. And yeah, I've worked with Eira before, and it's I've had just given me a great opportunity. And we also have, as Eira mentioned there earlier, a lot of people who've worked with Eira before on the team now. So it's I kind of joke it's like getting the band back together, but I think it's yeah, it's obviously a great opportunity, and I think it's we've learned a lot from having Eira on board already, and I think we're certainly going to help take Westhaven to the next level here, and yeah, hopefully with a bit of market momentum, and things are going to look good here. So yeah, we're very excited, and it's good to be back back working with Eira.
All right, and then
I could have gone a different way with that, but we'll save that for a beer sometime with all of us.
Final question. This is always the hardest one to answer as CEO, Gareth. You started drilling, so when can investors expect to start to get some assay results back? What's your rough timeline for the news flow this year?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think the benefit of working where we are is obviously we have the ability to work year round, where a lot of explorers don't have that advantage in BC. So I'm thinking we're going to be within a month we should have start seeing some assays back. So which is going to be great for helping us narrow down these targets as we're jumping around a little bit. But yeah, I'd say within the next month we should start seeing some assays for sure.
Okay, great. Thanks to both of you. I look forward to getting together again, maybe end of April, maybe in May, and we'll take a look at the results and do it all over again. So I hope you guys have a great day, and until next time, cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.